You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois, March 12th, 2023, Sunday afternoon around 3 p.m. Today we are playing turn 11 of The Case of the Blinded Birder, which is a play-by-mail game from a company called MurdersByMail.com. It's actually the third game, or it's not a series, they're not in sequence, but it's the third of 3 games that they make. I played the first 2 over the course of many months. We get about 1 reply per week, and I posted a spoiler-free review of those 2, and we decided, oh, let's play the one that looks the least interesting to me. Because of the audience thought, oh, we're interested in it, and it's turned out to be so far the most compelling one. I think most of the audience agrees with me. Let me check in with the chat here. Debbie was commenting on my new chat system where I can show comments down at the bottom. It's a plugin I've written and a web utility that lets me actually scroll through and control, so I can choose when to scroll through the messages, when to highlight one. Mostly I'll use it for question and answer sessions, but it is fun to have at my fingertips during regular streaming. All right, so if you haven't watched the previous 10 episodes, they're about an hour each. You should start there. You shouldn't start here. It'll make no sense. If you think you might want to play this game yourself, which I highly recommend, it's quite a special experience, and there are only 3 of these play-by-mail mysteries that I know of, extant, currently still existing on the planet. As far as I know, if you know of any others, let me know. Post in the YouTube comments. It's really quite a special experience. It's $40 you pay up front. That includes tax and shipping, and every other reply that you get sent is included in that price. It does seem like it would make a great gift, and this Case of the Blinded Birder, which they call a cozy mystery. It's sort of in a England cottage town set in the 50s or so. Seems like a great one for a gift, and in fact, I did send it to my mother as a gift, and she's playing through it. So, but if you're along with me now, you're probably all in. You're just going to play it with me. Okay, let's... before we get started, a little bit of bookkeeping. So today's Sunday. On Friday and Saturday, we played 6+ hour sessions of The Killing Affair, the Independence Day Killer, which is a hunt-a-killer-like company experience. 5 episodes in this season. We played episode 4 last night. We have 1 more to go. They have been challenging in different ways, but a pretty deluxe experience. And it's been an enjoyable experience, but it's been one of the ones where I really have needed the team. We've got 1 more of those to play, and it's not clear what day we're going to play it on. We could finish it up as early as Tuesday, or we could play it again on the weekend. It sort of depends on, well, mostly on Antina, because I'd like the group that has the stamina to stick with me. If you're interested in it, I'd be happy to schedule it so that the main group can make it. At least we'll try our best. After that, we are going to play 2 fan-made Sherlock Holmes consulting detective cases. I'm very much looking forward to these. We've played a bunch of fan-made cases by different authors. It's always an interesting experience to play a game that very few people have played, that someone has written just for the fun of it. If you're thinking of joining me for a longer live stream in the evening, or whatever your local time is, those might be worth joining for, because most people won't end up playing those games otherwise, and it's just fun. It's fun to play a fan-made case, and sometimes we talk to the author, and you never know what to expect. All right. With that said, let's jump into today's reply. Let's see what we've got here. So here's our reply. Where did we send people? We sent Cecily to Sam Kawamoto. He's off the map in a different town. He's the assistant to the woman that we suspect is head of all of this nastiness. Our prime suspect is the archaeologist woman professor who runs the dig. We're fairly certain that she's staging artifacts to bulk up her reputation. And we met this assistant very briefly. He basically came in, introduced us to her, and then left. And I picked up his name, and we thought, all right, let's go visit him. Maybe he can give us some dirt on Kathleen. Kathleen, I forget her last name. All right. The vicar is still recovering, and we sent him to the gunsmith shop. We're hoping to catch a lead on which of the 3 women, there are these 3 women in this cabal, this archaeologist academic cabal. There's a shovel wielder, Susan, I think her name is. There's Kathleen, the leader, and then there's one more we don't know. And on our last letter, we actually got whiff of them claiming to have a pistol. Janet. It wasn't Susan, it was Janet. And Janet says, I've got a pistol. I'm not afraid to use it. Well, we now know sort of the model of that pistol that we think was used in the murder. And we want to find out if this woman really does have a pistol. Maybe multiple of these people have a pistol. We'd like to find what model is. And someone in the channel, I forget who, someone in the channel suggested, hey, maybe there's a gun shop and we can find where they bought the gun. So we're hoping to get lucky there. And then Imogen went to the Kaluki residence. Okay, but we didn't know we were sending her to the Kaluki residence. What we did was, if you'll remember, the vicar went to visit the security officer for the archaeological dig. Somewhere on his way there, he got hit over the head, almost bled out, went to the hospital. Then we sent Imogen next door on our own. We got no mention of it, but we just thought, well, that's pretty close. Let's see if she can find anything. She got there, she didn't see anything, then she found a fisherman. Fisherman said, yeah, actually, I did see a woman drive up to meet this guy and force him into the car, basically. Not physically force him, but got in unwillingly. And then he described how they drove away. He said they went out to the road and made a left. So we figured, okay, it's probably this road. And then he probably made a left on Grand Lane. So we thought, well, let's give it a shot. This looks like a good place to dump a body. We heard, he said she was looking in the ditches or something, driving slowly. So we thought, all right, let's just give it a try. Let's see if we can't find the body of the security guy, because we think they may have killed him off too. So that's where we went. Let's get out our reply and see what we found. It's been surprising that the game, normally if the game hasn't anticipated a place you want to go, it'll say so. And there have been a couple times where we thought, is this game going to have a reply built for this location? And so far it's had a reply for all of the locations that we've gone to, which has kind of been surprising to me. It makes me want to go to more places to see what haven't they thought of. In fact, I was just looking at the map while I was waiting for the stream to start and noticing that there are a couple more churches here. And I was wondering, should we be sending to the vicar to all these alternative churches? Like there's a commune and stuff, like just to see what he says. He's like the comedian. It's funny, all his replies are like titled as if he's writing a story or something. He's a fun character. All right, let's see what we got. We got a big, long reply from Cecily. All right, we got pretty long replies from everyone. All right, let's see if my new setup, if I can read this from the screen, even Cecily's bad handwriting. Okay, here's Cecily. 76 Sam Kawamoto. Let's see if I can zoom in as much as I can here. Sam Kawamoto opened his front door as I made my way up his walk. His youthful face was in a grimace, as if he were experiencing pain or expecting to. You're the young lady everybody is talking about, he said, the one with questions. May I come in, I asked. I followed him into a neat and orderly apartment decorated in artifacts from Japan, and I was surprised at this since the war, enthusiasm about Japanese art had waned. He almost seemed to read my thoughts as I looked around. I was born in Tokyo. My father is British. My mother is Japanese. After the fighting was over, Father brought us to England. I studied archaeology at Oxford, then was recruited by Dr. Carwood to come and help her at Denham Hill. Is Kathleen Carwood a good boss? I asked. The grimace returned. She is very able as a scientist. That's not what I asked. Working there is hard sometimes, he said. Funding has been tight this year. Dr. Carwood spends more time trying to keep the place running than she does doing dig work. She is very, very stressed. Sometimes she takes that out on her employees. Ah, so she has a temper. A very bad temper sometimes, he nodded, then looked away. You asked her about that murder, that Mr. Albright. She told you she didn't know him except for at choir. Were you eavesdropping, Mr. Kawamoto? I could not help. My workspace is in the adjacent tent. There is only canvas between them, so you see, I knew she lied to you. Mr. Albright visited her tent a couple of weeks before he died. He told her that he had seen her tampering with the science of the dig, planting fake plow tips in the places we are digging next. He saw her early in the morning. he said, before dawn. When she denied it, he laughed at her. He told her that she had to pay him money or he would tell everyone. Even if it was a lie, it would ruin her work, make everyone believe she was a fake. She objected that she hadn't any money. But Mr. Albright said that was okay. She could steal something valuable, and give it to him. He'd sell it, he said. And did she steal something for him? I don't know, he said, looking scared. But not long later, Mr. Albright was dead. Okay, so Kawamoto has confirmed everything we've said. Now, I think it's worthwhile to talk about, it's interesting how we play these games, because I feel like we've basically figured out the core of this mystery. More than the core. But we're still traveling around thematically, kind of looking for proof. And we are getting some very good proof. The path has been very logical, directed. We've started with some hunches, and now we're really narrowing our focus and collecting proof. Now we've got proof she's lied. We've got proof that he overheard he really was blackmailing her, that she doesn't have much money, so if he wants more, she's in a tight spot. Nicholas said, well, we were right. Kawamoto could have something to say against Kathleen, but no new information. Yeah, no new information, but strong confirmation of what we thought. All right, now, this is interesting. All right, we'll go in order. Imogen, who went to the location near the house that's near the pond that's near the house where the security officer was attacked. Let's see what she says. Dear Jessie, Mr. Colucci is terribly hard of hearing. As he leaned out of his front porch and strained to understand my queries, he eventually grew frustrated and went inside to fetch a pen and paper. I smiled, nodded, and thanked him. Then we proceeded to exchange notes. I wrote out that we were curious about any strange visitors to Clement's Folly and that we're chasing a murderer. He seemed to understand and begged for me to hand over the pen. Saw young woman in car, driving with man, he wrote, at Folly. I nodded vigorously for him to continue. They parked. Worried my tea kettle was boiling, so I went inside the house, came back a few minutes later, car was gone. I wanted to ask him if he heard a gunshot, but realized that was not likely to yield helpful information. Police, he wrote, then handed back the paper. I wrote back that indeed the police were at the Folly investigating a crime scene. I asked him if he knew the woman or could pick her out of a lineup. He nodded, then wrote, don't know her name, but recognized her. Saw her at museum at the dig. She was speaking with a Japanese fellow. Both looked like they worked there. I thanked him, promised to be in touch once we've told the Inspector Swift all of our theories. He smiled and nodded, then wrote one more thing. Your dog is adorable. I smiled back and thanked him. I do believe we have something close to an eyewitness. Colucci may not have seen exactly what happened to poor Mr. Wendt, but he knew who was with him just before his death. Okay, so look what's happened here. We've broken the game a tiny bit. That's right. Nicola used the exact same word I did. So we figured out to go here on our own. But the game seems to expect that we found this location based on finding another location, the Folly, where we've discovered he's dead. So we've broken the game a little bit. Now, how do you think the game wanted us to find it? Because that's a weird situation, because look at where the Folly is. Here's where we are. The Folly is up here. Clement's Folly. So the question is, how did the game expect us to have gone here and discovered that he was dead here and then walk back to find a witness? Strange. But we found a little bug in the game by going here. Now, what's a little odd is that, because this has got a computer back into this game, the game should know that we haven't been here yet and should have given us an alternate clue. So I wonder how we were supposed to find that, because I don't think we would have gone there. I mean, you could turn left. Surely it didn't expect us to go up here based on that clue about turning left. Surely it must have been something else. Sounded like the police should have found his body on their own or something. Check in with the chat, see what the chat says. Maybe the turn left was supposed to be going towards the folly. Well, it was going towards the folly. It's just that this place is the intermediate step before you get here. Does this guy mention the folly? Let's see what he said. If he specifically said. So they get in a car. The car reached the road there, turned left slowly, like she was looking for something along the ditch. That's all I saw. As far as I can tell, she must have been the last one to see him. So no mention of the folly. So this clue, which got us on this road here, didn't say anything about the folly. So something else. It's a weird situation to be in. I'm not sure what we should do. Like, should we just walk there on our own now that he's mentioned it? Seems like we probably should. Like, we're just going to retcon what he says to him telling us there's police activity, and we're going to go over there. But it would be interesting to know how the game expected us to find that. Or we could wait till the game tells us. Well, let's see what the vicar says about the gun shop. Vicar's report. Here's the title of this report. Does LL stand for Little Lady? The name of the shop is LL Tripp Gunsmith. I'll admit, for as long as I've been in Bockerley, I've never had an opportunity to enter the gunsmith store of Louis Leonard Tripp. I suppose it's because firearms have never interested me outside the pages of a mystery novel. But I know its proprietor. On Sundays, he and Cecily sometimes share a pew at my services. Leonard is notable for his singing voice. It's loud. Perhaps all those decades shooting have damaged his hearing. Good afternoon, Leonard, I said as I approached his counter. He had some sort of pistol disassembled before him, its parts arrayed neatly on a square of oil-spotted cotton. He startled as my shadow fell over his work, and his white eyebrows leapt up. Oh, Vicar, he said. Sorry, I didn't notice you come in just now. Good afternoon, I repeated, a bit louder this time. Could I get your expert thoughts on something? Then I explained about our investigation and all we'd heard about the shooting, finishing with, I don't suppose you could shed any light. He wiped his hands on a rag hanging from his belt. Of course I've heard about the sad affair. Coroner Pye and I are friends. From what he said, the wound was from a low-powered weapon, but that hardly narrows it down. He gestured to his rack of guns behind him. I sell over a dozen models of rifles that could have fit the bill and half again as many pistols. Any purchases that stand out in your mind, I asked. Anything, unusual? Well, one thing, now that you mention it. He chewed on his lower lip for a moment. I don't sell many pistols, Vicar, and I don't sell to many women. But a few months ago, a woman came in asking if I had pistol ammunition she could buy. Friend was teaching her to shoot, she explained, and she needed 22 caliber short rounds for target practice. Now, most people who come in for that sort of thing buy several boxes at once, but she insisted that one was all she needed. I remember thinking, well, she'll be back, but she never was. Interesting, I said. Did you get her name? No, sorry, no need for a purchase like that, but I can tell you she was short and stout, dark-haired, not terribly pleasant, to be honest. As I was ringing her up, I asked her where they practiced. She took it like I was challenging her and spat out that her friend had an old house at the tip of Frank's End, up against those cliffs there, where he'd set up a little range, but then she added that it was none of my business and that I should keep my nose out of other people's affairs. I shrugged. Leonard shrugged back. Wish I could help you in some way, but you've plumbed my depths, as they say. If she comes back, or if anything else occurs to me about Albright, I'll certainly let you know. Thank you, I said. I'll see you Sunday morning. There's the vicar. Okay, so this certainly sounds like our shovel woman, doesn't it? Janet, the nasty one who claimed to have a pistol in her bag. And she gives us a location, the tip of Frank's End, up against those cliffs. She says her friend had an old house. Let's see if that's going to be Kathleen's house. There she's buying 22 caliber short for target practice, she claims, but she only needs a box, so not much target practice, more like murder practice. Let's get her description here. A few months ago, though, does that work out? When do we think he started blackmailing them? Short and stout with dark hair. Yeah, that's our shovel woman, Susan. But a few months ago, does that match our timeline? Let's find this location on the map. Frank's End near the cliffs. Where does Kathleen live? We didn't visit Kathleen at her house. We haven't visited Kathleen at her house. We just visited her at the dig. Okay, here's Frank's End over here. Let me turn this off right here in the corner. Frank's End. There's the cliffs. So he says an old house at the tip of Frank's End, up against those cliffs. Do you think it means one of these houses? There's the cliffs, right? There's the dig. I mean, she could be making it up completely, but seems like too big a coincidence. You think E37, E39, E40? Well, let's do this. Let's see if we can get Carwood having a house. Kathleen Carwood lives at C45. C45, which we haven't been to, is, let's see, there's C32. 41, 44. It's right next to this farm, this place where Went got killed. But where is C45? 43, 44, 47, 48, 49, 45. Well, that's interesting. So here is where Kathleen Carwood has her home. It's up near Cliffs, but not near Frank's End. But might we find the third woman? Could that be her friend's house that she's talking about? We're still looking for that third woman. I wonder if one of these houses would be hers, but which one? What about her house? Do we know her last name? Chat says, what about Janet's house? Yeah, what about Janet's house? Do we know Janet's name? Do we know Janet's last name? Here was when he talked to Janet. Dr. Janet Rosso. Okay, so we do know her last name is Rosso. Okay, let's see if we've got her house somewhere. Okay, we have her address. Janet Rosso is F20. F20 is out of town. Just make a note of it there. So F20 is off the map this way. Very interesting. So it does seem like she got caught off guard. So I feel like she was telling the truth about the target practice location. I'm guessing because she got caught off guard. So the question is now, the tip of Frank's End. It could also be off our map here, or it could be one of these houses. Or we could visit her at her home. Or we could visit Kathleen Carwood at her home. Let's make sure we've got a note of Kathleen Carwood, where she lives, on one of our things at least. So Frank's End up against the cliffs. That's either E37, 39, or E40, I guess. Is that how you guys read it? That at the tip of Frank's End is going to be here? Or do you think that could be talking about some other location? Chat says, all right, let's see. Let me catch up on the chat. It said the tip of the road, so E40. That's what Debbie is suggesting. Makes sense. The gun shop is up here. Gun shop. Where is the gun shop? The gun shop is in town somewhere in the B's. Here. Okay. Why was the bird at the spot he was killed? We don't know. ME says, I think we go to E20. That still feels like our best chance to tie the gun to the women. Follow the leads through. What's E20? What's E20? And Tina is getting back to our original question. Why was the birder at the spot he was killed? Was it an ambush or was he spying on a meeting? And if so, whose? Or was that Kawamoto's house that was off the map? Yes, it was Kawamoto's house was Alpha at F. All right, everyone's saying E40 is going to be the tip of Frank's End, which is not where Susan's house lives. So I think we might be able to find her friend. Emmy says, I think we need to do more searching locations around the murder scene. So far, we have nothing to put the women in the area on the day Albright was killed. That's absolutely true. We have not tracked his movements on the day he was killed. I'm sort of... My backup theory is that she told him to meet at a certain location in Heller Hole and where she was going to give him money, and she had her friend waiting to shoot him. But that's not 100% consistent with the idea that he may have been looking through his glasses and spying on someone. So I agree with you. We don't have a good evidence for what happened the day he was killed. But now we know Wendt was killed. All right. So catching up with the chat a little bit. Okay, so Emmy says, I meant E40. Okay, so you didn't mean E20, you meant E40. All right, well, let's look at our informants again that we haven't visited yet. Here are the informants that we could visit. We could visit the inspector at his home. We've done that. We talked to his wife. We've been to the coroner. I believe we went there. That's our first thing to do. Yes, so we went here. We haven't been to the reporter. Whoops, what is it? Sorry, these cubes are confusing. We haven't been to the reporter. We just made a note that we should send Cecily since she's his friend, Graham. We haven't been to the Historical Society. We haven't been to the library stacks, and we haven't been to births, deaths, and adoptions at county records at E1. I don't believe we've been there either. None of those really jump out at me as being great locations for us. In the absence of a better idea, I mean, I think we follow the gun, is my intuition. But I definitely agree with the sentiment of Tina about finding out what was going on near the murder scene and finding more information about the murder. So yeah, let's consider the places we could go. Okay, so we could go to the Clements Folly to try to stumble on the murder that we stumbled onto. Or we could wait on that and see if the game is going to direct us there on its own at some point. We could go to talk to the professor at his home, since going to the meeting didn't find him. We can go to Susan's house. We can go to Kathleen's house. We can go to the foot of Frank's End to try to catch Susan's friend, who could be the third person. We could go to an informant. All right, so let's go. I think we should go to Clement's Folly, where we just heard about a dead body. Like, we broke the game a little bit, but having broken it a little bit, it definitely feels like it would be crazy to not go where there's cops and a murder scene. So it seems like we should go there. It makes sense to send Imogen there because she's already there, right? She's the one that talked to this hard of hearing guy. She's just across the street. So I think we send Imogen up the road to the murder scene and find out what happened to Went. Then I suggest that we send someone to the tip of Frank's End, where we just got a lead on where Susan might be firing her gun. Maybe we'll catch a bullet shell and be able to match it up with our murder weapon, right? If she was target practicing and we actually find that target practice and a shell, we can match the rifling and match the gun. So that is that would be huge in terms of proof. So for sure we have to do that. I didn't even think about finding her. I was thinking about finding her friend's house. But actually, if they happen to have a target range, we can match up the shells. Yeah. Okay, so I think we go to E40, which is the one that you guys think is the most likely at the tip of Frank's End. There's also this house, don't forget, but it's set up by the cliffs, right? So I guess that's, we think, over here. Okay. So that's 2 locations. And probably, it's a little scary sending the vicar here. He's not the best at observing things. Like Imogen and Wooster. Imogen and Wooster, the dog is the one good at finding clues. Is it nerve-wracking to send the vicar and expect him to find bullets? Or do we need to send Wooster? It would be a huge switch to have them switch locations, but maybe we should. I don't think, I mean, if you want to step back as a meta comment, I don't think the game really would hide information from us based on sending the vicar there. But if we follow our role playing, we've been trying to send Wooster the dog to the places where he had to sniff out clues. Debbie says, but Imogen is needed for the second murder scene. If it's all filled with cops, we don't really need her. Emmy says, Vicar can't defend himself from the women. They've already beat him up once. Yeah. All right, I think we should swap them out. I think we should have the vicar go up to the murder scene, or Cecily, and have Imogen and Wooster go to Frank's End. Or Cecily, but not the vicar. Let's send the vicar somewhere else. But where? What other locations do you guys want to go to? I think we send the vicar up to Clement's Folly because he got hit on the head near that pond. So this is going to be his This is going to be his redemption. He's going to talk to the police, found out that he just dodged a bullet, and he's going to see Went, who he originally went to go see. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to send the vicar up to Clements Folly, C49. And then we're going to send either Imogen or Cecily to Frank's End. We could send the we're going to send the vicar up to the crime scene. Now it's Cecily and Imogen. So we should probably send Imogen with Wooster down to find the bullet. Wooster was the one who found the original shell casing. So it makes sense that he might be able to find the shell casing again. So let's send Imogen to E40 with Wooster. So this is the Frank's and Susan shooting practice, we're hoping. And this is the Went crime scene that we're sending the vicar. Okay, so it's Cecily who's left. Debbie says, why did we want to go to the Swordstone? I don't think we really do want to go to the Swordstone. The Swordstone, which is here, was mentioned by Kathleen Carwood when we talked to her and we said, have you ever met Mr. Albright? She said, yeah, I saw him around the sword. I saw him at the cave somewhere, or I see him sometimes near the Swordstone. It seemed like it was not relevant for us. So I don't think we need to go there. But we could go to Susan's house, Carwood's house, the professor's house, one of our informants, or we could try to track down our side case about the weird box. Remember, we got this weird story about a box south of Trestle Cross Bridge. Songbirds mummified, wrapped in paper. Jolly Run Company, which there's an ad for. 2 small packages of newspaper. 1952 issue of Baccarat Chronicle. We could go to our news informant and ask about that. So this seems like a little side case. We've written side case. We could have Cecily start investigating that side case, either by talking to the newspaper or by visiting one of these companies, or we could have her visit the professor's house. I will note, let me just note that when we wrote down his description about looking for something along the ditch, we did write C52, C60 we went to. We did write C49. That's Clements Folly. Still think it's weird that it wanted us to go there. All right, let me see. What's the audience going to be? Is there anyone who hasn't gotten that we haven't listened to choose a place? If so, you can pick the place. Debbie says, I think someone should talk to the professor. The talking to the professor might be another way to find out the third woman. Nicholas says, in the newspaper, there's a letter from an Antonia Fox from Air Barrow Field. She probably lives near Janet Russo, F22 versus 20. That's interesting. Letter from an Antonio Fox. Where is that? A letter from Antonio Fox. Surely this is the letters we're talking about. What letter? There's the Jolly Run Company related to our side case. There's a missing dog. There's a missing dog that surely we're going to want to send Imogen to see if Wooster can find this dog. Where is the letter? Top left of second page. Oh, letters to the editor. Okay. Antonia Fox, Fairborough Field. Is she in the directory? Antonia Fox, F22. Is it possible this is our... No, it's not possible it's Susan. But it could be... Yeah, I don't know why we would... It's right near where Susan lives, it's true. But otherwise, no clue for us. All right, as I was saying, has anyone in the chat not gotten to pick a place to go? And Emmy says, any other locations near the murder scene for witnesses who might be there on the day of the murder? Well, here's where the murder happened. Really looks pretty isolated, which I guess is the point, right? You might imagine someone could be fishing off the bridge and could see something. Or you might check out the bogs for someone where someone might drop a body. Pretty big long shot, though. So if I remember right, killed at Borley Wood and seen at a bench at Heller Hole. I believe that's how it worked. Let's just see the order that we went to places. I believe that's right. No? Yeah. Crime scene was here, Heller's Hole. This is where Snogger's bench was and may have shot him. I think it was that way, this shooting here. So... Yeah, I don't hold out much hope for witnesses. Besides, a witness would have come through. He's the publicized murder, I think. The house opposite the woods. I mean, there's this house here. I don't feel like this is like I know it makes sense, but I suppose if a witness saw someone driving away or something, it just doesn't seem to me like this is a good candidate for witnesses. I have to stumble on the witness some other way. They're out in the middle of the woods. I don't know who's going to see them, and who's going to hear a small caliber pistol. It's just not good odds for us without a better lead. The odds are not good. My inclination is to wait till we get a better lead. Although, I mean, I wouldn't object if someone really wanted to pick one of these places. You might say, well, if they all lived here and they were going to drive to Heller's Hole, how would they get here? See if you had a witness that saw their cars. Does he even have a car? We don't know. All right. If I was running this case as a detective at this point, what I would be trying to do is find the third woman and the professor who might help find the third woman, and try to find one of those three women to flip. So I guess I would vote to send Cecily to the professor's house to find out if he'll tell us who the third woman is. Or do one of the side cases. Has anyone, this is my last chance, last time I'm going to ask, and then I'm going to make the call. Has anyone not given us a vote for where to go yet in the channel? And if so, you can pick the place. Otherwise, we're going to go visit the professor. We don't think he's going to have that much useful to say, but he might tell us who that third woman is. But probably just going to he's probably going to just confirm everything we know. All right, well, if we visit the professor, where did we write down his address? It would be interesting just to visit the professor to learn a little bit more about the history of these women. The professor is current Hounscliff at C83. Let's just confirm that. This is normally where the channel convinces me to go somewhere else after I look it up. Hounscliff, C83. All right, so we're going to send Cecily to talk to him. He might give us some more background on the three women as well, including if one is a good shot. Although maybe if they're practicing with a gun, they don't need to have been a good shot before. All right, let's mark these locations on our map. Well, actually, first let's enter them in case one of them says you can't go there, but I think all of these are going to be valid. All right, here we go. It's time to do it. Cecily is going to see Hounscliff at C83. Imogen is going to Frank's End to find the shooting range, and hopefully Wooster can find a shell casing. That would break this case wide open if we find a shell casing that matches the gun. And the vicar is going to see if he can stumble upon the crime scene where he was almost killed. Let's send the move. Here we go. Okay, it's sent. All right, let's mark these locations on our map. And then we'll chat a little bit. C83 was Hounscliff. Okay, where is that? He's retired, living in, let's see if he's living in a nice house or a little retirement village. Okay, C83. That's where the professor retired to. And then Imogen went down to the tip of Frank's End to find the shell casing right over here. You can't see it because I'm in the way. Right there. And then lastly, the vicar went up to Clement's Folly here, which we don't really know. Well, it was just weird how the game assumed we already knew about some murder. All right, so there we have it. Fun, exciting, still enjoyable, still very enjoyable case. As has been pointed out, we still do not understand how he found himself in that location. It's interesting to think about where would we go to find that? Would he have told anyone where he was going? Would he have had to take a car. Could anyone have seen him? It's interesting that we don't have that. But since he's dead, it makes sense to focus on the 3 women that we think are somehow involved. And we still have to figure out which one is the shooter. We can't just arrest the 3 of them and said one of them did it. I mean, we could, I guess, on a conspiracy basis, but we still need to have the shooter. If we can match Susan's gun, then we've got Susan. Okay, and then we have a couple side cases. So it might be time to start exploring some of these side cases if we don't have better places to go. I am curious about that mummified bird side case. It's clear that Imogen is going to have to try to rescue that little dog in the paper. So we've still got a couple months left of this game, I think. Feels like this game has more work, has more places to go. Is that right? I can't remember exactly how many turns we did in our last games, but I believe we ended our last games around turn 14 or so. We haven't been to the RAF, as has been pointed out. Okay, well, let's sign off here. The next live stream I do will be to play A Killing Affair Episode 5, the final box. It's not clear whether we're going to do that on Tuesday or next week. And then we've got 2 Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective fan-made cases that I hope you can join me for, because I think those are always quite special and unique. I hope everyone has a great week. Join me on the Board Game Geek Guild forum, where we discuss and plan what games to play next. You can find a link to that on the YouTube community tab of the YouTube page. And I'll see you all next time.